Cricbuzz chatter once again at the end of day 3 of this test match. It's been a stop-start test match. It's been a when's it going to start or is it going to start kind of test match. And yet it made a little bit of progress. India, I thought, moved reasonably ahead in the game, and then England suggested batting may not be that difficult. But hang on, Michael Vaughan was at the side, so let me ask Michael what he thought. Michael, spot of bother England, do you think that lead of 90, or do you think, how do you see that lead of 90?
Well, Harsha, we're quite good at dancing in the UK, and the rain dances started mid-afternoon. It seems to have paid dividend. I believe there's a bit more rain on day 4, which may save the England side. That heavy roller generally plays a bit of a part here at Trent Bridge as the test match goes on. The more heavy rollers that they use, it can sometimes deaden the surface. But the sun was shining, the ball wasn't swinging, and generally this test match, we've seen the ball swing more after about 30 or 40 overs. So it does take time for the lacquer to come off, and then it starts to hoop around. So I'm sure we'll get some cricket on before the ball will swing around a bit. India are in the box seat. Don't worry and don't be too concerned over there. And if the more time that gets taken out of the game, actually there's only one team can win the game, and that's India, because England won't have enough time to get the runs to then also get the 10 wickets. So frustrating. I thought they could have played more. I'll be honest with you. I'm a bit frustrated with Test cricket. The ease at which they go off and the amount of time it takes for them to come back on. If it's T20, 50 over cricket, they seem to get back out there a bit sooner. So a bit of frustration for the Test game. But India in the box seat, Harsha.
Yeah, but I think the tail was a little more frustrating then, wasn't it? I mean, it's a tail that normally frustrates us, Michael, because we hope they'll hang around enough to score some runs, and they don't always do. But today, I mean, there's Siraj with that straight drive, there's Shami picking up twos. What I loved was Bumrah is number 10 and he's blocking, and then suddenly number 11 comes in, and it's amazing how 10 and 11 regard themselves as senior players, right? So now Bumrah is a senior player, but that must have been, I mean, all mirth aside, must have been mighty frustrating for Joe Root. Yeah,
and one of the concerns for this England side, because they don't have any extreme pace and they don't have that spin option or mystery spin, is that tail enders do wag against this England side. You go back over the Ashes series of late, it's generally been 8, 9, 10, 11 that have caused a lot of damage. So that is a frustrating. The fielding from an England perspective was poor. Run-out chances were missed, catches were dropped. Jimmy Anderson dropping a catch, you very rarely see that. So frustration from the England side in terms of the way that they fielded. Jasprit Bumrah, he's going to dine out on that 6. Rishabh Pant came out and he put pressure on the England bowlers. It wasn't lasting a long time, but again, pressure on Rahul was a gem. He played a technical masterclass in English conditions, playing it really late. 46% of his runs going down to third man. So that tells you how late he was playing the ball. And then my favourite, Ravi Jadeja. Harsha, why isn't he the most paid cricketer in India? Why hasn't he got the top contract, and why isn't he the first name on every single team sheet?
Well, his fortunes are changing now, and you can already see that with the one spinner available, he's playing ahead of Ravichandran Ashwin. There's something interesting. I mean, you look at the numbers for Jadeja in, say, the last 2 or 3 years. He's averaging 41. It does help that there's a few run-outs, a few not-outs when you're batting down the order. But he's averaging 41. I actually thought that he looked good enough one day to bat at 6 today, because I remember meeting him as a 19, 20-year-old who was starting to bowl. Shane Warne had just called him the rock star. He's starting to bowl a left-arm spin. And I said, what are you? Jacques Kallis is an all-rounder who bats. Sean Pollock's an all-rounder who bowls. What are you? He said, I'm a batsman. He's always looked upon himself as a batsman. And I think he's blooming now as in that role. And it'll just be fantastic if Pant and Jadeja, even though there's about 8 or 9 years separating them, can start to play that role at 6 and 7. Most days you will play Ashwin at 8, and that'll just give the side such a lot. But I mean, he batted so well today. And I know you like him when he does that 50 jig afterwards.
I just I admire good cricketers. I really admire good cricketers, and in Ravi Jadeja, I just think you've got a gem. Across all formats. Because he's a style of batter that we showed today, that he can play the technical game, hang in there, play nice and straight, and then all of a sudden he's batting with a tail and boom, that 6 a hit over kind of deep fine leg. That's the IPL. That's taken its rewards for a player that can play all the different formats in all the different situations. He's my favourite. I have to admit that.
So there's Rahul, there's Jadeja, there's Bumrah. I was focusing on a young man, and I'd love to get your point of view because he's not the classical swing bowler. He's not even a Broad. He's definitely not an Anderson in that kind of spell. But Ollie Robinson gets one test match. He makes 40 odd and takes 7 wickets. And then his juvenile passer, the Adolescents, whatever catches up with him. I'm not sure you can hold that against him. They should have cleansed those accounts, but that's a completely different story. We're talking cricket here. And now he comes in and picks up 5. Are you happy with the way he went? I mean, he's never going to be a 145 bowler, right? But are you still happy with what he is? Can he be a Jameson kind of bowler?
Yeah, I really do think. I mean, I've not in my time seen a bowler, and that this includes Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson. I've not seen a bowler arrive on the test scene from an England perspective in my time and look so good and so comfortable. When you think that he was given the ball ahead of Stuart Broad, and he got that ball ahead of Stuart Broad in his first test match at New Zealand at Lords as well, England speak very highly of him. You can already tell that he's in that little pack of Broad, Anderson. You can tell that those two really like him and they respect him because he's a high-class bowler. He's very confident. He's done an interview after play today and said, I want to win big series and I want to play 100 test matches. He's only in his second test match and he's talking about playing 100. Whether he will, we'll have to wait and see. I think he's a mix of a Josh Hazlewood and an Angus Fraser, somewhere in between Angus Fraser and Jossie Hazlewood in pace and skill and discipline and control. He's a good bowler. He's a good cricketer. He can bat a bit as well. So England have found
interesting you said that.
Absolutely, they have.
Very interesting you said Josh Hazlewood, because on our telecast we were talking to Alistair Cook and he said Josh Hazlewood too. So just that ability from that height to bowl a length is fantastic. And what about that Jimmy Anderson? I mean, has someone told him he's 39 and the 39-year-olds have to behave a certain way? 163 test matches, Michael. That rookie young kid who started out when you were leading sides around then, or even before you started leading sides, and he's still going strong.
Well, the worry for batters around the world is that he's got a few years left, and that's what he's telling us all. I bumped into his dad yesterday, and it was his dad's birthday. And I don't want to give his dad's age away, but let me tell you, his dad looks about 40 as well. So it's in the genes. The Andersons don't age. They don't get any older. He's stuck in a time warp. He's still 25. He's not moved since 14 years ago when he was 25. He's going to go forever. And who wouldn't want to bowl him with his standard, with the Duke balls? He's going to swing it. And it'll just be Jimmy Anderson that one morning he'll wake up and go, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. And as we look and see, I don't think it's going to be in the next year. I think we've got him until he's in his 40s. There's a first-class cricketer over here, Darren Stevens, is a wonderful cricketer. He played for Kent. Yeah. He's 46. He's still playing at the age of 46, and he signed another year contract for next year. I've said to Jimmy Anderson, can you do a Darren Stevens in Test cricket? We still be bowling at 46. Let's wait and see.
I thought India's big pluses were KL Rahul. It'll be interesting to see what he does with opening the batting. You've been an opener. Were you happy with what you saw?
Tremendous. Harsha, I look at the modern game and I think it's kind of drip feeding through a lot of the development programs where players are seeing the likes of Steve Smith with his funky technique and his movements, and they're feeling that that's the way to bat, that you can play with a very much of an unorthodox game. I look at Chandler Paul, Steve Smith, who have had exceptional careers. The majority of high-class test match players that last the test of time generally have very basic techniques. They're very still on the release of the ball. They can go forward to the full length. They get back to short length. They use the top hand, and then that bottom hand comes in for a little bit of power. And I thought Rahul today just put on a masterclass of how to play against the moving ball. You play it as late as possibly can. You play it under your eye lines. And you know what? You get a lot of balls down to third man because you're playing it so late. And then you wait for that one that's full right under your eye line, and boof, you can drive the ball and leave the ball well. Know where you're off stump is, just letting the ball go through the keeper. And then the bowler has to bowl that little bit straighter and fuller, and then you capitalise because you've worn them down. It was a masterclass of how to bat in English conditions. He'll stay. They can't move him. When you get that amount of runs against this kind of quality on this kind of pitch, he's got to stay for a couple of test matches at least at the top of the order.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking back to 2016. He made a lot of runs in 2016. England were here as well. And he had got 4 or 5 test hundreds in no time. I think he's lost 2 or 3 years. But then over a career, if you can give yourself 12-year, 13-year careers, 2 years here and there should not matter now. but he's 28, 29, and a lot of batsmen start to peak around this time. So I'm hoping he can go there. The pity is he's got this spot at the expense of his very best friend, who's Mayank Agarwal. And Mayank Agarwal actually got his test spot replacing KL Rahul in Australia. So it'll be an interesting evening when they get together with families. But yeah, I think it just showed that the job is his if he has the temperament. I know we've talked about it briefly, but that is also my question when I put you in the hot spot. Because I'm going to make you captain of India. And I'm going to tell you to have a word with KL Rahul. And what are you going to tell him about his future? Okay, you're Ravi Shastri if you want.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Harsha. I wouldn't mind captaining India with the talent that you've got. It's a nice team to captain. No, he stays. You know, he stays at the top of the order. I'm a big believer when your chance comes, if you take it, you keep it. You know, unfortunately for Mayank Agarwal, whether he'll be fit or not for the next test, he misses out because, you know, KL Rahul is taking that opportunity against, you know, if you look at the history of the game, the Broad Anderson combination in English condition up there with the hardest to face, and he's gone out there and got 84. So, yeah, he keeps his place right at the top of the order.
Which leaves us with just enough time for fast forward with 2 days to go. Potentially, 190, 195 overs available if it doesn't rain, and they actually do manage to bowl their overs in time. But let's look a little ahead. 280 is the minimum that England need to get. You think 270, 280, take 90 off. You've got 190 to play with. On maybe a last day, someone's talking about a few divots here and there, ball a little up and down maybe. So minimum 275, 280 for England?
Yeah, I think they've got to try and get what India got. And then say to India, you've got to get what England got in the first innings of the test match, in the last innings of the game. My fear is that England won't be able to get that kind of score. You know, my fear is that India's bowling attack, the fragility of the England batting lineup, there's a lot of individuals playing for their careers. And that's, you know, it can be a motivation. And last chance saloon's always dangerous because you've got no other mindset but to go for it. So that could work for one or two of the players. But, you know, I think if we get rain tomorrow, and then you go into the last day and England know that there's only one team really that can win, and that's India, because they just won't have enough time to get enough runs to then get the 10 wickets. That's when the pressure's on. It may be a draw because of the rain, but I still think we're in for a twist. Even if tomorrow's washed out, I still think this test match is India's to win. The ball will swing. It'll do plenty at certain times. It may look flat for a period because that's English conditions, but all of a sudden it'll start swinging around, and India have to capitalise on the cricket they've played already. They've been a better team, and they'll expect over the next 2 days to win the test match if they hold the chances.
Fair call, because we've seen two little collapses in this game. One, England 6 for 22. That is when the lights were on and the ballers moving. Then India 4 for 15. Could have been 5 if KL Rahul's catch had been taken. That was when the ball was moving. But this heavy roller, has it flattened the track out a little bit? Do you think in course of time, maybe Jadeja's other arm might come in handy, or you think, no, Jadeja's batsman here and it's all about pace?
Oh, it's about pace, but don't rule out Jadeja having an impact with that left arm spin, thudding into the right-hander's pads. You know, he's a wonderful bowler, and I think he's got the skill levels to manoeuvre himself around the crease to create a bit of havoc. But you know, I always say this with England in Test match cricket, Harsha, we very, very rarely have boring draws. It's very rare in English Test match cricket history to go to the final day and it's just nullified and it's boring. There'll be drama.
Okay, that's not a bad way to end Cricbuzz chatter then. Drama, says Michael Vaughan. Let's watch out for the drama and then join us again as Michael will at the end of day 4 of this Test match. Goodbye.